Oh, how's it going? I'm just adjusting this pillow for me back. Uh, so yeah, update on me. Everything's okay. I'm just doing some research on defense systems and in particular, okay, I'm not going to say too much, but I'm just doing research on defense at the moment because that's going to be really, really important. Um, And I've also been getting ready to do some readings. As you guys know, I'm going to be doing a reading tomorrow, 9 a.m. British summertime. I'm going to be doing the July 2022 reading. I've done everything that I need to do for the notes. So this reading should be relatively quick because I actually made preparations this time and I didn't just, you know, take a chance and saw what happened. But yeah, so check that out tomorrow morning. The link will be on Twitter, so don't worry about it. What I really want to talk about is the way things are going in America. I really feel like civil war is going to be coming up now because the rights that are being repealed for women and, black folk and LGBTQ people are next. The thing is, right, in Britain, the way British people do things, they're gonna do the same shit that they did over in America. But with Britain, they exploit loopholes. They trick people with really clever diversions. Like the UK has been around a lot longer, so they know how to subjugate us better whilst making us think that we're more free than the Americans. Whereas, the United States of America, it's a relatively new colony. So the way they do things over there, it looks really obvious to the point where I feel like citizens will not take this. They're not going to take this shit. They're going to rise up against the government at some point. That's what I see. I don't see people standing for this shit. I don't see them taking it lying down. And honestly, I'm with them on that. I don't think we should. We've taken a lot lying down over here because we've been psychologically broken down, but that Americans still have that fire inside them to be like, what, we're not gonna fucking take this shit. And I see it all over my social media and all over my timeline. It's only a matter of time before that's gonna translate into some real life action, and we're gonna see even bigger civil struggles in America. That's what I see, real civil war. When it comes to the abortion issue, once again, what's the question here is safe abortions. It's not abortions themselves, it's safe legal ones, right? The ideal is to keep them safe, keep them legal, and keep them rare. Now, unfortunately, apparently the amount of children, the amount of women having abortions is more than what would be needed in order uh, to keep the population steady and to keep crime rates down. Like the amount of abortions that women are having will kind of exceed the necessary ones that it would take for crime to be reduced or for, but at the same time, disallowing safe legal abortions, guess what it's going to lead to? It's going to lead to crime. What I'm seeing is not just people in America, but people all over the world being backed into a corner. So what's happened is that people are running out of money because there's been economic downturns that are quite obviously planned. I don't think they're fucking accidental at all. There are economic downturns that are obviously planned. So what happens next is that there are austerity measures to take more and more away from the public, which in turn will be redirected into military services. And it will be redirected into heavier policing, redirected into martial law, redirected into warfare, basically. So that's normally what happens when we have economic downturns and things like that. All the resources that are dwindling and all the extra money that we're being asked to pay, it's slowly taken away from public service in terms of welfare, in terms of or benefits over here, in terms of the NHS, the public health service. in terms of public transport. So all of these resources are slowly but surely taken away from the public more and more. You've got to include unions in that as well. And what will happen is that the resources are redirected into war. It's not actually necessary to do this. It's not actually necessary to do this. But what happens is that these financiers or these people at the top, what they do is they exploit discontent within the populace, because discontent is going to happen as a result of resources being more scarce. And then what they'll do from there is they will stoke up people's rage even more with deliberately inflammatory or oppressive laws designed to keep people down and designed to keep people not being free, or at least having their privileges taken away. In this case, it would be safe legal abortions, which are not actually being taken away. It's being reduced to state level, so states can decide whether or not abortions are legal. They know what they're doing. So what will happen is that they will get people more and more het up. Then it will come to a point where there will be martial law brought in if the struggles get too out of control. And then what will happen after that is anybody who is deemed as a threat to the status quo, anybody who is mentally divergent, anybody who is not or anybody who even is a fucking black ops spy for the government. So it'll come down to everybody will be at civil war with each other, and then military policing will come in. And what also will happen is that military won't just be in charge of law enforcement; they will also be in charge of healthcare as well, because remember, military funding also funds healthcare. In the first place, Tavistock Square, the Tavistock Foundation, was founded by an ex-colonel after World War II. His name was Colonel, I think it's Colonel Rees, Colonel Lees or something. I've got to look up the founder of Tavistock Centre. But yeah, that was an ex-colonel who founded it, based on mental hygiene. I think it's John Rees, actually. John Rawling Rees. He was CBE, MD, RAMC, FCRP, basically loads of military decorations. He was a British civilian, but he was also a military psychiatrist. So this guy was in the army. All of that is military funding, psychiatry. This is why anti-war and anti-psychiatry go hand in hand. It's because how psychiatry got started in the first place is because they took inspiration from the Nazis on mental hygiene. So what we're witnessing now is a changeover of money, resources, and money and resources increasingly in the hands of the military and in the hands of militarized action. Healthcare, law enforcement, you name it, all them shits is about to be militarized. That is why all of this is happening, right? And this whole propaganda that was being spread among TIs about white fucking genocide, that actually helped to play a part in this bullshit, especially over in America. Safe legal abortions are not sanctioning the murder of children. But what is sanctioning murder is taking away those safe legal abortions so that desperate women will have no choice but to put a wire hanger up there, and that will definitely endanger their lives. But again, this is about keeping people divided in order to fund a war effort so that through that war, a new empire can be established. That is what this whole thing is fucking about. The only way to really gain power is to keep, the only way this world can really be sustained is to keep women down, to keep black folk down especially, but brown folk can come in that too, to keep LGBTQ people being dehumanized. All of that is essential to keeping this world running. Everything that we're seeing now is the foundation of every empire for the last millennia or so. What we're seeing now is the manifestation of every major empire for millennia at this point, like maybe a couple of thousand years. So yeah, this is messy, but I did say that this was going to happen. I said that years ago that this was going to happen. I said the Nazis will take over. They're going to. You're getting all these resources taken from people. People are losing their homes, people losing their benefits, even losing their fucking lives, and all of those resources, they're coming right back to the military. But all of this was arranged long ago. You usually think these people at the top, the Bilderberg group, all these financiers and rock stars and all these people, like, talking about how the world should be. Do you seriously think they don't know a thing or two about history? Do you seriously think they wouldn't have taken that and found a way to, preempt the cycle so that they could get the most out of it? How do you think certain families at the top have stayed at the top for so fucking long? So this whole thing with removing safe abortions, um, yeah, it is ultimately about getting the numbers of white kids up, and on top of that, it's about getting the number of soldiers up. It's about getting the number of military personnel up, because remember, we're all being groomed for war. And personally, I feel sorry for younger generations coming up in the midst of this bullshit. Oh Lord, I've been saying it. Even when I was at my sickest years ago, I could see this coming. God knows how many other people saw this coming and nobody listened. And as for all this Zertsitzung stuff with the gang stalking, I've been saying that for years too. I said, listen, gang stalking is military money. Listen, I don't care if it's the actual military doing this to me or doing this to several other people. I don't care if it's criminal networks doing it. Guess who is still paying for it? Guess who is still... It's still military funding. Military funding is fucking long. It is longer than you could possibly imagine. Because only the super rich can really afford it. That money is fucking long. Let me tell you something. That money is long. That military money is one of the reasons why the UK is a corporation rather than a country. That money is fucking long. And did you know there are people who have been and come and gone in our government that were directors of defense systems? One of them is being Michael Portillo or Michael Portillo. He was a member of he was a director for BAE Systems at one point for 12 months. And he's not the only one who's been a private investor whilst being whilst either being in public office or just after being in public office. Profit and control is at the root of everything. Don't be fooled for 1 second that any of this shit is about protecting the country or protecting people's human rights. They've got white Ukrainians over here and black and brown immigrants being shipped off because the UK wanted more soldiers and they wanted more white soldiers. They wanted to repopulate the country, make it more white. And I know some white Brits are going to be celebrating that fact. But what they don't seem to understand is that the majority of people fighting for white rights and white supremacy, they're recessive as fuck. And that same fucking ideals that they're fighting for would have them on the chopping block because they don't fucking measure up. They don't measure up. These people really, really want to be out here fighting for their white rights because they think being white is enough. It's not enough to just be white and a white supremacy. It's not enough to just be white. It's not enough just to be hateful. It's not enough just to be patriarchal. You've got to have the build. You've got to be obedient. You've got to be elite. So we've got all these racists fucking fighting for white supremacy or fighting for white power. And 9 times out of 10, they're the next that are going to be first on the chopping block because they don't fit. They don't fit. They don't fit, never have fit, never will fit. And when the military comes knocking, do you seriously think that their white skin is going to save them? No. You get in the military's fucking way, you'll get the same thing that we get, a bullet in your fucking head. Because there are specific types of people that the eugenicists are trying to breed. And these same people that are fighting for so-called white rights or white power, they're the same ones who end up on the chopping block, like I said several times before. Most of them are mentally ill. Most of them have lack of education because this system failed them. Most of them have a barrage of health problems. How safe do you think they are? And that's not me being like bitter or anything. It's the truth. It's the truth. Power doesn't have any loyalty. Love might not have barriers. Love doesn't know race. Love doesn't know gender. Love doesn't know like what your fucking background is, how much money you have. Love doesn't know any of that shit. But power is not loyal to any of that shit. Power has no loyalty. Power has no loyalty. Love might have no barrier, but power has no loyalty. Having one of the traits needed to survive in a white supremacy, it doesn't guarantee that you're going to thrive in it. It doesn't even guarantee that you're going to survive it. Look how many people died during the Great Depression. Huh? I mean, I'm just saying. Look how many people died. Look how many people died during the Great Depression. Think this shit is a joke? Being hateful is not going to save anybody. So this is exactly what I'm talking about. That fear of the feminine. The fear of the feminine and the fear of nature and the fear of anybody different is exactly what's going to lead those same people bawling out of their own childish hatred. Those same people are going to be sacrificial lambs for a cause that they thought they were going to benefit from. They're not going to benefit from it. It's going to be the people who are putting them to the sword, putting them to the gun, putting them to the bomb that are going to benefit from it, not them. And as for this safe abortions thing, I find it really, really interesting that at a time where, we're running out of resources and we don't have that much to go around, that people are fighting for the right of the fetus now. How are you fighting for the right of the fetus now? Why didn't you fight for the right of the fetus when things were good? When we actually had money, when we actually had enough to give everybody, why didn't you fight for their rights then? Why the fuck did you wait until everybody was hungry, cold, and scared and needed somebody to take their shit out on that you wanted to fight for this fetus rights now? You people are fucking... The public are dense and these politicians are evil. You want to do this now, I beg. We're just coming out of COVID. We're just coming out of COVID. We're just coming out of, and not only COVID, but all the measures to stop COVID that caused even more of a recession, even more resource shortages. So we already had a financial crisis in 2008. Now we've got the COVID situation in 2020. We had the austerity in the UK in particular. We had austerity going back to 2010. And let's not forget Brexit. How much trouble is everyone in right now? Now people choose to focus on abortion rights. Where was all this energy when people actually had the money to fund for these children, to feed these children, to home these children? Where was all this energy then? These children are being bred to be soldiers and prisoners and cheap. No, these children coming into this planet are being bred to be soldiers and workers and nothing more. Not singers, not actors, not writers, not entrepreneurs, not fucking bankers, none of that. Your basically poorer children are being set up as fodder to either be soldiers or cheap laborers, one way or the other. And everybody else with a fucking brain cell between them, they're all going to be put in another open air holocaust. It's like being Cassandra sometimes. You know that myth of Cassandra, the Greek myth? Always right, never listen to. Boy, the amount of times that gang stalkers could have stopped this because it's their harassment, and in some cases they're firing the electronic weapons that have been facilitating all of this shit. They could have ended it overnight and said, you know what, we're not doing this. And not only are we not doing this, we're spilling the fucking tea right now. They could have stopped all this, but they chose not to. Instead of fucking talking shit about me having lame theories and me being on lame rants, you could have listened to them lame rants, you could have listened to them lame theories and actually saved some lives. But no, you're just fucking killing them. And whoever you're not killing, you're condemning to being a soldier or a worker and nothing more. And for those who think I'm exaggerating, how much does it take to study now? How much are those degrees worth now? Okay. Sorry, just drinking some tea. Drinking some peppermint tea. I got to wipe my mouth. But yeah, it's not gonna lead. None of this is gonna lead anywhere good. It's not gonna have a happy ending. Then on top of that, we've got the Russia and Ukraine war. The fucking wars. Britain have been at war for 300 years. I don't know if it's 300 years straight, but Britain have been at war for 300 years. They've been in 170 wars in 120 countries. The fucking wars. Oof. This is a mess. This is a mess. I don't know what's going to happen. And it's not even to me. I'm just one person. Like, I don't know what's going to happen to the world. I just don't know what's going to happen. This shit is scary. And yeah, it's going to get worse. It's going to get worse. The only hope that I really have is that the same thing that we had to deal with in the 1930s, when it comes to being our turn for all of that to take place, it might happen more quickly. Might not be so laborious and dragged out. But I don't know. I can only hope. But anyway, this is a mess, bro. Anyway, that's enough ranting for today. I gotta go. You guys take care. Peace and blessings. Bye bye.